I'm gonna try and get us to get all 3 mics at one point. I'm doing more research on it. So
that's what I'm talking about.
Welcome to another edition of the Fantasy Football Fellas podcast.
Yes, sir.
It is Friday, fellas. How are we doing on yet another Friday?
Friday. That's what I've heard people say, and I don't like it, but that's just what I've heard. So Friday, everyone.
I've just heard people say it. I hate it, but I've heard it. I love it.
Keep on keeping on.
Keep on keeping on.
Keep up the good fight.
Man, what a start. What a start to this one.
It's the end of the week. We're all happy and we're in need of it. We're in need of the weekend. We're going to wrap out the AFC South this week. We went through the Texans and the Colts earlier this week. Going to wrap it up with the Jaguars and the Tennessee Titans this week. And I'm not going to forget it this time because I shook the rust off in the last episode. We got Hot Take Ty again, per usual. Ladies and gentlemen, turn your heaters off because there's a hot take coming at you.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll turn your burners back on for you with this take.
I like it.
Hot take goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Ooh.
And this is the team that no one really can predict super well. But I will make a prediction for you. And I believe is the safest and the best prediction for this team. And that is that James Robinson finishes as a top 20 running back this year, even with the addition of Travis Etienne to the back.
Ooh.
Smoking.
Did I turn your burners back on?
He lit a match.
That's a pretty hot one.
Especially with Etienne and the Lawrence pairing. Lawrence was thrown to Etienne all of college.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's hot. I don't think we need to validate it, but that's a hot take.
Yeah, here's just a little reasoning behind it.
Go for it.
Robinson figures to be the early down and the goal line threat. I don't really think. Maybe they do some run option with Lawrence at the goal line and stuff. I think Robinson. I feel like the reason why they took Etienne is because they see Robinson as the power back or as the bigger back, the downhill back. That equates to goal line touches in early downs. So I think Robinson finishes top 20 just because he will be on the goal line putting up 6 points every week, every other week, not every week. That's insane. But
that's Derek.
But every other week, I think you'll see Robinson put up a tutty, as we say.
I love it. That's nice. I like that. I can understand that logic. Well, speaking of the Jaguars, let's dive right into them then. We won't start with the running backs. We'll start with...
You penciled that out?
Yeah, let's get it. If you're just listening, not watching on YouTube, Cameron did a very nice demonstration of he was teaching swim lessons.
Right on my
Tokyo?
computer.
Are you on Tokyo this year?
I had an invite, but
you just
priorities. My man.
I couldn't miss.
You could have missed the podcast.
My man. All love here. We appreciate. We're gonna start with the Jaguars. We're gonna start with the rookie who has, I'd say, arguably the highest expectations set for him this season, and we don't even know if he's going to be the starting quarterback according to Urban Meyer.
Gardner.
America's hero, Gardner Minshew, still in the running,
man.
according to Urban Meyer. But I mean, I think they'd be absolutely insane to not start Trevor Lawrence, who is, I think we all agree, arguably the best quarterback prospect we've seen since Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
Currently, Tyler, you have him at quarterback 20. Cameron, man, quarterback 26.
Because he made me move Daniel Jones up last week. What am I supposed to do? I'm looking at this right now. I should have him at 24.
I'm at fault for this, I guess.
I should move him at 24. I should have him and Tua flipped. That was my bad. Was not thinking. Him and Tua should be flipped. So say
Still.
quarterback 24.
Still, quarterback 24. I have my quarterback 16, and his ADP is at quarterback 14, which is closest to where I have him, but still kind of at that point where we don't really like it. But I mean, I just got to point that's eons and light years away from where Cameron has it. Like that's like knocking on quarterback 1. Cameron had him like tail end of quarterback 2s.
Now worth
undraftable. Like I understand.
Are you changing it right now as he's just roasting you for it?
I moved it to 24. I realized I had Tua ahead of him. Okay, I had to move Tua.
All I'm gonna ask is like Tyler kind of slowed the roll, which I can understand. But man, what's your pessimism for Trevor Lawrence heading into this season?
Well, I love Trevor Lawrence mainly because we share last names. Same reason I like Cam Newton.
Except they share first name, not last names.
However, I have him at his floor. That is where I have. I don't think he drops lower than where I have.
At 24, not
at 24.
26.
Yes. And the reason that I have him there is because of Urban Meyer and because of the wide receivers. And that is the only reason. I think he's going to be amazing. Like, I think this dude is going to be a rock star. Don't get me wrong. Like, he's the number 1 prospect since Andrew Luck coming out of college for a reason. Yep. And he showed it, like, it wasn't like they're like, oh, he's got so much potential. Like in college, he was amazing, so he's going to keep that up. I think he's going to have more losses this season than he had all of high school and college combined. So that might be a little bit of a bummer, but
it's a psyche thing then too.
Yeah,
Gets in your head a little bit.
I really like him. I just think that just everything around him is not a great situation, at least this year. Maybe moving down the road, they figure it out and he really starts to show up. I just think that for me, I just trust the guys I had ahead of him. That's kind of what it comes down to.
Yeah. Who are some of the guys you have ahead of him? Sorry, I'm trying.
I'll start from, so you have him at 16. So
yeah, just go 16 to 20.
I have your guy, Jalen Hurts, at 16.
Okay.
I got Winston at 17.
Yeah, sir.
I'm assuming Winston started.
Sure. Yeah. Right.
And I got Wentz at 18. Ryan at 19. Cam Newton at 20. Ben Roethlisberger at 21. Derek Carr at 22. Fitzpatrick at 23. And then Trevor Lawrence at 24.
I mean, I think you can make an argument for almost all those guys, really. I mean, like, I think we've said it before that quarterback 15, I think that's where wherever I have Matt Ryan until like essentially like quarterback 25, really. It's like, I think you can make a case for all of them. Yeah. It's just who do you like more and who do you think has upside for what reason? You could probably talk me into any of them, but
for sure.
No, I don't disagree. Trevor has the upside to probably be borderline quarterback 1, but
100%.
I think the safest bet is to probably roll closer to like in between where Tyler and I have him at the 18-19 range,
And I could definitely see him there. I mean, we've said it so many times. For me, it's quarterback 17 to like 26. Like you can talk me into any arrangement for those guys, and I won't really argue with that. And so those guys are, I mean, because that's your middle of quarterback to guys you're not drafting. And so those are the guys that are really going to fall in any spot within that. So I mean, I agree. I think he could definitely finish 18 to 19.
Yeah. And ultimately, again, you're not going to come out of your draft with Trevor Lawrence as your number 1 quarterback, unless you're a diehard Jags fan, which I just can't argue on with at that point. So
there aren't many of you, but if you are,
hey, I met a guy. Met a guy in college my freshman year who was a Jacksonville Jaguars fan. So shout out to Nick Johansson. Haven't seen you in a while, man. Hope you're doing well.
Shout out.
Let's move on to Trevor Lawrence's teammate Travis Etienne,
college
teammate, and current NFL teammate as well. Tyler, you got him at running back 28, Cam at 29. I got him at 30, all right in that same range there. His ADP is running back 23 right now, which is way too high for a guy who I have no clue what his role in the offense is going to be. Like that's Chase Edmonds' range right now. That's like Mike Davis range as well. And I'm taking Mike Davis
all
10 times
long.
out of 10, 24/7, 365 ahead of Travis Etienne. Let's be clear. I'm spoiling our overpriced series on Instagram right now, the FF Fellas. One of my over. Where's our soundboard?
We need it.
We need it. Anyways, overpriced right now in all of our opinions, really. And part of it too is just James Robinson is still there, finished running back 7 last season. He's nothing to slouch at. And even James Robinson is going as running back 27 right now, which is
criminally low. Yeah, I'm kidding.
I was gonna say, I know that was your hot take, but
you got him at 33, Ty. Don't sell me on that.
Do I actually?
Yeah, you're gonna be on Fournette, Ronald Jones.
That needs to change. That will change after this episode. That's for sure.
I think I have him closer. Where do I have him? 35 though.
35.
Yeah, I got him. I got him lower than you. So, anyways, point is though, that running back committee is a mess. There's just so many question marks right now, and I really wish we could be talking about the Jaguars at the start of August versus in the middle of July when OTAs are just kind of picking up a little more steam and more buzz is coming out of camp. But Tyler, how did you go about ranking these 2 running backs? How do you even go about ranking these 2 running backs? And how do you see this backfield realistically shaking out? I know we had your hot take, but hot takes aside, right? Hot take isn't gospel for what we actually believe. How do you see this backfield shaking out, and how do you go about ranking these 2 running backs who have seemingly same talent, same skill set?
Yeah. I'll start off with this. I go all the way back to the pilot episode. We were talking about all these rookie running backs and who we're looking for, who we're targeting, and who we are just avoiding. I said I'm avoiding Najee Harris because I completely forgot that Travis Etienne is a player on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Had I remembered his name in that moment, I would have said Etienne. Lucas then later said it, and then I realized I should have said him. So I will start off with that. Etienne is the one rookie running back I'm avoiding this year. I need more so it's just that I need to see a year of what this offense is, and then I will feel more comfortable taking him later. Just not this year. I think I kind of touched on it in the hot take. I feel like the role that these running backs will have in this offense, Robinson will be the early down and goal line guy, and Etienne will be your passing downs. But I can also see a hot hand scenario with this team.
Yeah.
So I think my initial rankings, the only reason why I put Etienne higher than Robinson, just the fact that you spent a 1st-round draft pick on Etienne and you're pairing him up with your college teammate who is now your starting quarterback or should be starting quarterback at Urban Meyer. Okay. Basically, yeah, they will complement each other. But in the weirdest way possible, I think it will happen. Just it would be best to just avoid both of these guys, honestly. But if you do, there are insurance policies that you need to buy right away then, because there is nothing certain with this backfield.
Yeah. My least favorite thing about it is they are both so talented.
Yes.
We're not denying that. We're not saying we're out on them for the rest of their careers. They're so unbelievably talented. It's just when you have both of them together and Urban Meyer as your head coach, you have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. We just don't know. That's the only reason we don't want to take these draft picks is because we don't know what it's going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
Is it just one game Etienne gets all the carries, the next game James Robinson does? Is it James Robinson's the early down back and Etienne's just a pass catcher? Is it they're on the field at the same time, they're splitting everything? We just have no idea what it's going to look like, and that's the problem.
Yeah. And I think, and this is me just externally processing here, we're probably going to need to do an episode closer to the start of the season where it's all right, we need to just do a whole news and updates podcast just to recorrect what we're saying now. Because Cameron, you're in a draft right now where you're already drafting a best ball team. And that's we need this information now, but also I don't even want to guess what percentage, 75% of drafts probably aren't going to take place until the middle of August anyways.
Yeah.
But as of right now, this backfield is just disastrous. I could see Travis Etienne having an awesome season.
Mhm.
I could see him being top 20 probably.
Yeah.
I don't want to go as far as saying top 15 because I do think James Robinson chips in, but I mean, the Jacksonville Jaguars want to pass the ball to the running back. They want to get the running backs involved in the passing game. Both have value. You just don't know who the heck is actually going to be the receiving role. Based on all the buzz we've heard of Travis Etienne lining up at all these different wide receiver positions and different formations, I'm going to bet he's going to get the bulk of the receptions. But James Robinson did unbelievable things in the passing game for them last season.
Yeah.
So we avoid committees. That should just be like our podcast, like slogan.
Avoid
Three Stooges, just being dudes, the fantasy football fellas. We avoid committees.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the best way to approach this.
Yeah, I think
You got to get them out of value.
Yeah, the one thing I go back, or I kind of, the logic that I use with Lawrence, Robinson, and Etienne, all three of them. I go back to last year when Herbert started kind of coming around. I don't think he was drafted in our league.
No.
But I then got him on waivers, and Herbert started to kind of do, you saw the rookie magic kind of start to happen right away. And what I did is I actually flipped Herbert for some more position players. And looking back on it, I think a lot of people would have said, like, why did you trade Herbert away? He finished as a top 10 quarterback. I would rather be wrong on a rookie quarterback than take too much stock on a rookie that doesn't pan out, right? So that logic for me, if I were to land Lawrence, Robinson, or Etienne, that would be my logic, right? A couple good games, I'm going to get rid of them, right? Because I will refuse to put more stock into them, expecting them to continue those performances, then not. So it's not, if you get one of those three guys, it's not a bad thing, but limit your expectations. Do not expect them to be your top performers and producers on your team.
Also, week 1, Jacksonville plays Houston.
Oh,
So
it's a perfect sell high
And
opportunity.
if you have Trevor Lawrence and he throws 4 touchdowns,
Sell him.
Oh, it's going to be the perfect sell high opportunity for you. Oh,
yeah. So if you have a Jaguar or a Texan, look to sell high after week 1.
that's not a draft strategy. Okay.
No, don't draft them.
Don't draft based on that. But if you end up with them and Travis Etienne is your running back 3, let's say, and he pops off for like a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown or something week 1,
Flip him.
Do it. Let's move on to the actual pass catchers in this offense. Not that the running backs can't, but the actual wide receivers.
Tim Tebow.
No. We'll save him for the end. I'm gonna give Cameron like just 30 seconds before we. All right, see you, dude. He's going upstairs. He can't handle this anymore. Tim Tebow, I saw a TikTok. I should do like this guy, but he realized Tim Tebow could have been cut from the team. But he was saying Tim Tebow could be a tight end 1, and that's just because the tight end positions are so bad. And Tebow won't make. I want Tebow to make the team. I really do, because I just want the media to go nuts over it. And frankly, I want to draft him and have him on my team. But he's not gonna. He's gonna be my last round pick. Anyways, we're talking about wide receivers, not tight ends. Tyler's still fuming over.
Sorry, I just had to pace for a little bit just to like. Okay, we're back.
We're gonna play draft or pass with these 3 wide receivers: Leviska Schnell Jr., DJ Chark, Marvin Jones Jr. I'll give you one of the wide receivers.
All right.
You're just gonna tell me if you're gonna draft or pass them.
All right.
And if you want to give me a 10-second blurb on why, we're gonna try and clip through it pretty quick here. You're welcome to, but I don't know how in depth we really want to dive with these wide receivers, because I think
we can just
snap it. We can snap right through it. Great.
I'll probably need to explain my answers, but I promise I'll keep it short, and there's good reason for it. I promise.
We'll just go in the order in which they're currently being drafted. So first off the board is Leviska Schnell Jr. average draft position of wide receiver 31. Cam, are you drafting or passing on Leviska Schnell Jr.?
I am passing because he is ahead of Robbie Anderson, which is just criminal.
Oh man.
We stand Robbie Anderson on this podcast.
Man. I'm gonna keep my lips shut till I give my choice. Tyler, draft or pass on Leviska Schnell Jr.?
I'm drafting. I will explain why I'm drafting after we get through all three, because you will figure out why.
That's fair. I had draft on my notes here. After Cameron just said Robbie Anderson is being drafted after Leviska Schnell Jr., that makes me want to say pass because I'm going to draft Robbie Anderson instead. But I mean, he showed flashes last year. I was somewhat hesitant to say draft him, as I just said. Mm-hmm. But I mean, one of these wide receivers has to lead this group.
He's going ahead of Curtis Samuel too.
Oh no!
Oh, you want to know the list? It's Robbie Anderson, Brandon Cooks, Brandon Ayuk, Devontae Smith, Will Fuller, Jerry Jeudy, Deebo Samuel, Tyler Boyd, Curtis Samuel, Jarvis Landry, and Michael Gallup.
He's 100% being drafted at his ceiling, not ceiling.
Pretty close.
They are really banking on the breakout this year.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Oh, they're going to be such a pass-heavy offense, but they got three. I'm passing now. I'm taking 50% of those guys ahead of Leviska.
I will still draft, but under one condition, and I will get to that later.
All right.
Excellent. DJ Chark going as wide receiver. Oh, this is an easy one for me. Going as wide receiver 36.
He is still in front of Will Fuller, Jerry Jeudy, Deebo Samuel, Tyler Smith, Curtis Samuel, Jarvis Landry, Michael Gallup, Jalen Waddle, among others. I am going to pass, especially after Urban Meyer said he does not have the body we want to see in a wide receiver one.
Yeah, Mo agrees with you.
Mo agrees.
Yeah. Mo agrees.
Thanks, dog.
I'm gonna wait. Tyler, draft or pass?
I'm drafting.
Woo!
Again, under one condition, which we will get to later.
He's keeping me on the edge of my seat here.
Yep.
I am passing on DJ Chark. I had DJ Chark ahead of Leviska Schnell Jr. I had DJ Chark in my top 30. I've since moved him down to, I don't know where, I forgot to mark it down. Last season, 6 weeks under 10 fantasy points. That's not great. That's not great for a guy who's going to be your wide receiver 3. He only caught 50%. Huh.
You got him at 37.
I might need to move him down lower.
Yeah.
DJ Chark only caught 57% of the passes his direction last season. I mean, we can blame that on Mike Glennon and poor QB play, but I mean, I think it's still within the realm of possibilities that DJ Chark could be the lowest scoring pass catcher on this team. And I'm out on DJ Chark. I used to be in. I've since changed my opinion to out. Last but not least, Marvin Jones Jr. going as wide receiver 50 right now. Cameron, are you drafting or passing on Marvin Jones Jr.?
I think I'm gonna draft because of where he's falling to.
Yeah,
strictly because I have to say draft since I took him in our mock draft.
Yeah,
I look like an idiot if I say pass now, and that was just because he was my last pick. And I think there's a chance he could be wide receiver 2, maybe even start seeking that wide receiver 1 on this offense.
Yeah. He's going as a wide receiver 5 in a 10-team league. Like literally, like you can't get further than wide receiver 50 as a wide receiver 5 in a 10-team league.
Yes,
100% agree with you. Tyler, draft or pass?
I'm drafting.
He's drafting all 3.
He's stacking the Jags.
He's gonna get. Is it
my magic trick?
It's my secret weapon in fantasy this season.
The Jaguars.
All 6 Jaguars. I'll give my take on Marvin Jones, and then Tyler, I'll let you give your one condition for all these players. I'm drafting Marvin Jones Jr. I did a little bit of digging on Marvin Jones to hopefully get some convincing shots on why you probably should be drafting him too, and why I think he's a late round sleeper. I legitimately think there's a chance Marvin Jones leads his team in receptions and catches at the end of the season. I think it's a legit chance. Mm-hmm. It might not be the hottest take in the world because we've hardly seen anything of Leviska, and we got one poor season and 1,000-yard season from DJ Chark.
Nope.
Marvin Jones is the experienced veteran. I think they brought him in for that reason, to be the experienced pass catcher for Trevor Lawrence. In weeks 8 through 17 last season, without Kenny Golladay, you know where Marvin Jones ranked?
He was the top 10 wide receiver, I bet.
Try top 5. Wide receiver 4. Wide receiver 6 on a points per game basis. Now, I understand he had Matt Stafford. I understand.
I was about 30 spots higher than I would have guessed. I'm just being honest.
That was the most Cam thing.
That really was.
Yeah, that was about 50 spots higher. Yeah.
Point being, I know he was the only wider pass catcher besides CJ Hawkinson in that offense. I know we had Matt Stafford, and we still have Trevor Lawrence has a lot to prove, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he's got at his upside, his price point, in what's going to be a pass-heavy offense because they're going to be playing from behind. I will gladly take Marvin Jones Jr. at that price point.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler, give us your one condition for all these receivers.
So my one condition, I guess the X factor in this condition is Marvin Jones, because currently on a lot of big boards, Schnell and Chark are going way ahead of Jones, right? With little to no certainty of who is going to be what in that offense, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would draft all 3 if they were. I'm not reaching. If they fall and I'm comfortable taking them at the spot, I would take them. But I'm only taking them if I am taking Schnell and Jones or Chark and Jones.
So you want at least 2 of them if you're going to take any of them.
Because I think they're like, let's be honest, one of those 2 will be 1 or 2. Is that fair to say?
Yeah,
that's fair to say.
Like I would like I'm not taking one and banking on one being 1 or 2. Mm-hmm. I need 2 of these guys to make like what would be absolute dynamite, and what I hope would happen is that Schnell is 1 and Jones is 2, and I grab both of them. That would be ideal. Mm-hmm. But like, let's say I take Chark and Jones, and Chark is wide receiver 3. I then am covered by Jones being wide receiver 2 in that offense.
Sure.
That's my one condition. That's why I said draft for all 3, but it's all dependent on if Jones is still there and I have one of those 2 guys ahead. So how realistic is that scenario? Not very realistic.
And it's not a great strategy to enter your draft.
Not really, but I will say this. It's not like I'm taking any of these 3 guys to be my wide receiver 2 on my fantasy team.
Yes.
These are all flex spots, right?
Yeah.
At this point. So the other, I have a running back 3 and these 2 guys to battle out for my flex spot. Yeah. That's 3 guys fighting for that last starting spot on my fantasy team. Personally, that's pretty good, because typically it comes down to your wide receiver 3 and your running back 3. But if you can grab a wide receiver 4 that can also have your flex, potential to be your flex player, I think that is a relatively safe strategy, probably if you're only targeting Jaguars receivers.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. That wraps out the Jacksonville Jaguars for us. I don't think
No, that's it.
No, don't draft Tim Tebow. No, don't.
I was gonna say, do you really want 30 seconds on Tim Tebow?
No, I don't. Don't draft Tim Tebow.
No, we're not gonna do the unnecessary hype train for Tim Tebow because there isn't one. There's no tickets for sale. There's nothing, no train to board there. Let's move on to the team we think is going to finish atop this division, Tennessee Titans. And thankfully, we did our Julio Jones emergency pod. We covered quite a bit of the Titans already, so a lot of it is just going to kind of be like, how has our mindset changed since then? We'll hopefully be able to. Hopefully, this will be more review than it will be like new information we're just tossing at you here.
100%.
Trying to keep it a little bit fresh here. So we'll just start with the volume king himself, Derrick Henry. Unbelievable season last year. Tyler, you have him at running back 3. Cameron, you have him at running back 4. I have him at running back 3.
I will say this. I just changed it to running back 4.
Just changed to running back 4. I'm the only one who has him as a top 3 back, which I could easily put Kamara ahead of him too. So we all have him right in that same range. He's worthy of one of your first 3 or 4 picks in your draft.
Oh, 100%.
100%. And look, we know Derrick Henry had insane volume, insane production last season. And there's definitely going to be regression coming. Look, it's inevitable almost. If Derrick Henry goes forward to like even more production this season, I think we'd all be blown away.
Yeah.
Regression is going to come for Derrick Henry. However, we still have him inside the top 5 running backs. So, Cam, my question for you is how much will this regression actually impact Derrick Henry's value? Because clearly we still have him as a top 5 running back.
So I mean, Henry's in the top 10 for most rushes all time. Last season, he had 378. The season before, he had 303. Season before, he had 215. Season before, he had 176. So I mean, he's obviously been increasing every year. I mean, 378, you gotta think it's the peak, but you never know.
Right.
And, I mean, adding Julio kind of makes it that case even more that this is the peak amount of rushes he'll get. But you also never know. I mean, if anybody's gonna do it, it's Derrick Henry. You know, he's just got that build. He's that size. He had 2,027 yards. He averaged 5.4 yards a carry.
Jeez.
Which is unreal for any running back, much less when you're putting out 378 rushes over the year.
4.8 is good.
4.8 is good, which is his career average, but he's up at 5.4. And every year since 2017. So 2017 he was 4.2, 2018 was 4.9, 2019 he was 5.1, and last year was 5.4. So his efficiency has only gone up. Last year, everybody knew they were running the ball with Derrick Henry. Like, it wasn't a surprise.
Yeah.
And he still was 5.4 yards per carry. Jeez. There was a crazy stat that we've been talking about. First in rushing yards since 2019 is Derrick Henry with a little bit over 3,000. Second is Derrick Henry in yards after contact. And
after contact
with 2,600 yards. So after he's gotten hit, he still is averaging 1,300 yards a year. And then next is Dalvin Cook, who's 100 yards below. So over the last 2 seasons, Derrick Henry has more rushing yards after contact than any other running back has at all.
In general.
So it's just insane. So this man is still going to get, I mean, I would be shocked if he drops under 1,600 yards. I would be.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, they're going to run the ball. They're going to be unapologetic about it. He's had 12, 16, and 17 touchdowns.
Last 3 years.
Last 3 years. I would assume he's probably still 15 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I mean, still won a game. When they get in the red zone, they're going to give Derrick Henry the ball.
I'd put the over-under on 13. That's 13 and a half.
And I'm going to take the over because that's their game plan.
Hold on. Take the under on the Texans winning less than 4 games. And take the over on Derrick Henry scoring more than 13 touchdowns.
And I mean, Derrick Henry was RB3 last year, right? I think. Yeah, RB3.
Yes.
Yep.
And he had 19 catches. So the only way his receiving totals can go is up. And we know that. So his receiving totals may go up. I mean, we've said every year that he's going to be more involved in the passing game, and he never has. But maybe this year is the year. But even if he goes back to 300 yards rushing, he's still going to be 1,600 or 300 attempts. Even so, if he drops 4 attempts a game, he's still going to get 1,600 yards and probably 15 touchdowns because that's just who he is. I mean, that's how they're going to use him. They're going to get inside the 10. And they're going to run it at least twice with Derrick Henry every single time.
Yeah.
So I think there might be a little bit of regression, but I don't see him dropping out of your top 7.
I don't think anything more needs to be said there. Derrick Henry is worthy of your 3rd pick, 4th pick. If he falls to you at 5, 6, snatch him up. Do it. There's a lot of miles on those wheels, but do it. He's the king of volume. He's king of efficiency, yards after contact. I mean, those numbers are insane. Derrick Henry's a top 5 running back.
Yes.
That's all we need to say.
He's only 26, too.
Oh, he's still got at least 2 more years of prime production.
You would hope.
27. Sorry, 27.
Okay, so he's got a year, 2 years,
yeah.
maybe.
Yep.
Anyways, point being, Derrick Henry's the guy you want on your team this year.
100%.
Let's move on to Julio Jones. We did the emergency podcast on him, so hopefully we'll be able to keep him a little bit more quick here. Tyler, you got him at wide receiver 17. Cam at 15. I got him at 14. ADP right now, Cam, you nailed it. Wide receiver 15, Julio Jones is going at. We're all in the same range, but Tyler, you've got Julio outside of your top 15. What's caused you to keep Julio outside of your top 15, even though he's on an arguably more dynamic offense now?
This is the first year where this is the first year where fantasy owners are questioning what role Julio will play in an offense.
Yep.
I will give you 10 through 16.
Go for it.
Wide receivers I have in front of Julio. Allen Robinson, Amari Cooper, AJ Brown, Mike Evans, Terry McLaurin, Adam Thielen, and Deontay Johnson. Each guy has a role in their offense, right? I can understand question marks over Deontay Johnson, over Adam Thielen. But to me, I'm putting Julio at his floor because of a new offense with an unknown role at this point. And honestly, the potential, I mean, can you give me his injury stats or like how often he's been injured?
Julio Jones, so he missed 7 games last year. But before that, he had missed 4 games since 2014. That's it. He's only missed 4 games. He might be on the injury report every week.
Injury prone.
But he's only missed 4 games since 2014. So he had 6 seasons only missing, or no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 6 seasons only missing 4 games.
So I'm not putting him at 17 because I think he's injury prone. It's really just because you have AJ Brown across the field from him, run first offense at the goal line, where Matt Ryan, more times than not, would just do a corner fade to Julio and Julio would go get it. Julio doesn't need to do that every single time now.
Well, and Julio's touchdowns in 2019 was it 18 or 19 were just abysmal. He had like 0 he had red zone
2017
targets.
was the one.
2017.
So he had 3, 8, 6, and then 3 last year.
Yeah.
He's only had one
Sorry.
double-digit year of touchdowns. That's true.
So I think, like I said, I'm putting Julio closer to his floor just because I don't know what to expect from him. And I know what to expect from the other guys. Granted, if Julio falls to me at a draft spot where I need a wide receiver too, I am not going to be regretful taking Julio as my wide receiver too.
100%.
It's just, like I said, the other guys, Adam Thielen's a red zone guy. Deontay is going to get the ball going up the field. Mike Evans, red zone guy. Terry McLaurin has a much better quarterback to give him the ball and Ryan Fitzpatrick now. So the upside's there. Amari Cooper has Dak Prescott. Allen Robinson can be a top 5 wide receiver with Justin Fields on the field. He said this before.
He was top 12 with Mitch Trubisky and
Foles.
Foles, man, the false MVP.
Yeah. So again, just an unknown right now. But again, if he falls to me at a spot I'm comfortable taking him, I'm not going to regret taking Julio.
Julio's a good fantasy pick this year, but I think Tyler, you brought up a really good point of it's a new offense, undefined role, run heavy. Atlanta's typically been more pass heavy the past few years. So it'll be interesting to see Julio in a possible number 2 role or 1B at probably the best.
One thing I got to say is the Titans have 190 vacated targets from last year.
Oh,
So there is a lot of ball left to go around, even with AJ Brown in that offense. And Julio, the reason I really like Julio is since he came into the league, he has averaged at least 15.5 fantasy points per game. Even last year when he was hurt, he's averaged 15.5 fantasy points a game. He has from 2014, 2019, that's the same stretch we're talking about where he wasn't injured. He had at least 1,400 yards and at least 85 catches. So I mean, he's proven that he can do it. That's the upside that you're taking with Julio Jones.
Yeah.
So I mean, we know that there will be a little bit of a floor that he could hit just because of, like Ty was saying, but there is a crazy ceiling still.
Yep.
Absolutely. Still a guy I think it's worth taking him on your team.
Absolutely.
It's up to personal preference of how comfortable and how early you want to take.
Don't be the guy that passes on Julio to try to like bet on the upside of another player.
Don't be cute with Julio.
Don't be cute with Julio.
Yeah.
Still take him. If you want to reach for him, go ahead.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's going to like argue against it because you're betting on his upside.
Yeah.
But don't be the guy that passes up Julio and lets him drop because you just want to find the cuter pick somewhere else.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Let's move on to the guy who's across the field from him, as you mentioned, Tyler, AJ Brown. And we'll try and keep him and Ryan Tannehill a little bit more short here. Tyler, you got him at wide receiver 12. Cameron and I have him at wide receiver 11. His ADP is wide receiver 8. He's going as a top 10 wide receiver still. And you've had a month or so to kind of chew on what AJ Brown's value actually is post Julio trade. And it's fallen outside the top 10 for all of us. It's a guy fantasy analysts are going nuts about to start this year, like pre-Julio. going to be a wide receiver 1, elite wide receiver 1 upside this year. Well, saw people have him like as high as wide receiver 4 in their rankings. It was insane. So, I mean, do I think the hype was a little bit out of control? I wouldn't say out of control. He would be being drafted at a ceiling, I think. But
he's where Ridley is now. That's what him and Ridley pretty much
flipped. Yes. So, Cam, how likely is it that A.J. Brown returns value on his ADP of wide receiver 8 currently?
I mean, I think it's pretty likely. I mean, A.J. Brown's a really good player. Last year, he in 12 games started and 14 games played. He had 106 targets, 70 catches, 1,075 yards, and 11 touchdowns. I mean, Ryan Tannehill is crazy efficient as a quarterback. I mean, that's what this offense runs on. I don't think it's going to change. He was 12th in total points and 6th in points per game last year. So, I mean, he's going to put up a ton of points, and he was doing that with Derrick Henry running the ball. In his first season, he had 1,000 yards receiving and only 50 receptions.
Oh, only 50.
So he can put up crazy points and not catch the ball a lot, you know? That's just so you're looking at a guy who's gonna catch the ball a lot, doesn't need to put up points, and that's what they need in this offense. And I think he can be a top 10 wide receiver, and I don't think it's out of the question. So I think he can definitely return value.
Wow. That was a really good point. I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't realize that's 20 yards of reception. Yeah. Oh man.
Let me check that real quick. Because now that I say it sounds really crazy, but I thought it was crazy when I first looked at it.
Yeah, it's crazy enough that even though we've looked at it 4 times, we need to double check again.
Yeah.
50 catches, 1,051 yards. He's averaging 20.2 yards per reception.
Oh man. I almost wonder if I have AJ Brown. Well, but he didn't have Julio Jones there either. Yes. I think that's the biggest thing that keeps him out of the top 10 for me is that it's just that acquisition of an elite wide receiver that we know Julio Jones is.
Yes.
That's the only thing that keeps AJ Brown outside of the top 10 for me, but he could easily, I think, Cameron, you made the argument perfectly for AJ Brown being a top 10 wide receiver.
Would you guys agree with this statement that the partnership of Julio and AJ Brown is more likely to have both of them finish as wide receiver 2s in fantasy than both of them finishing as wide receiver 1s in fantasy?
Wow,
AJ Brown's got to finish right at the top of wide receiver 2s, and Julio's got to finish like bottom 3rd, I think. I don't think Julio gets bumped up to wide receiver 12 in any sense. It's just a style of offense. If they're in any other offense, I think they both could be, but
I think they could be. I think they could both be wide receiver 1s.
They got to score touchdown zone. I just don't think Julio and AJ Brown are going to get the touchdown equity they need to be bumped up into that wide receiver 1 at the same time.
This team is great. I mean, Tannehill still threw 33 touchdowns last year. I mean, who else is he going to throw touchdowns to? Derrick Henry doesn't catch passes. You think Firsker is going to catch 15 touchdowns or Josh Reynolds? I mean, literally though, that's what
Josh Reynolds.
That's what I'm saying.
Josh Reynolds hype train.
I agree. Like touchdowns have never been there for Julio, but this year, I mean, someone's got to catch touchdowns on that team. And if Tannehill threw 33 last year, I think he's going to be pretty similar this year. Mm-hmm. He's got. I think the touchdowns are going to be. I think they can do it. That is my hot take. That is my mildly hot take. They're going to be wide receiver 1s this year.
If they both finish as wide receiver 1s, it's going to be wide receiver 11 and wide receiver 9.
I'm not predicting like wide receiver 2, wide receiver 5 or something like that. Yeah, like it's like but lower end wide receiver. I mean, because that'd be crazy production. But I think they could.
Okay. I will say this. That means anything can happen this year with both of them.
Yes.
So, I mean, you can you're getting good upside wherever you're drafting them, and you will still get solid production out of both of them. I
mean, the floor for Julio is like bottom tier wide receiver 2, and the floor for AJ Brown is like middle wide receiver 2. Like, I mean, they're so good that they're still going to put up a lot of points.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. They're both wide receivers you want on your team. We understand hesitation on AJ Brown at the same time. I mean, man, those numbers are just so difficult to deny in his talent and his ability to be the number 1 target in that Tennessee Titans offense. We'll wrap up the Titans quickly with the man who's throwing in the football, Ryan Tannehill. Tyler got him at QB 10, Cam at QB 11. I got him all the way up at QB 7, and part of it is just the numbers that Cameron had thrown on him when we talked about the Julio Jones emergency pod, be quarterback 2, and top 10 quarterback in that stretch when he took over for Marcus Mariota still. So before the addition of Julio, we all had Tannehill in that like 12 to 16 range for quarterbacks. Now we're all top 10 on him, Cam. You're essentially there.
I'm right there, yeah.
You're right there. Tyler, and I think we're all banging the drum on this one. Tell the people why Ryan Tannehill may be the biggest steal of your draft in the 8th, 9th, maybe even 10th round, depending on how aggressively your league drafts QBs.
Without Julio, he was still putting up top 10 numbers. You said it. I think you said it last week.
Yeah, it was probably last week even because you took him in the mock.
Yeah. So where did he finish?
In 2019, when he took over from Mariota, he was QB2 in that stretch. Last year, when A.J. Brown, Jonnu Smith, and Derrick Henry were all on the field, he was QB3.
And now you replace Jonnu Smith with Julio Jones. Are you kidding me? You are getting a pretty much guaranteed top 10 quarterback
100%.
in the 9th round if he falls that far. That is unbelievable. Yeah. And you have some people that will be reaching for Lamar Jackson. Some people are reaching for, dare I say, Kyler Murray, Pat Mahomes, first overall. Sorry, that too.
Keep going.
Hear me when I say stack up on all the players leading up to like round 8. Go in and get Tannehill in round 8.
Yeah.
Go get him. He will be a quarterback 1 that everyone will think is just not a quarterback 1. Just wait until he puts up 25 points a game. Just wait until it's consistent 20-point outings each week. And let them send you offers then, because they're going to be like, how did you know that Ryan Tannehill was going to be, so good? He's proven it in the past, and he has an upgrade now with Julio. There's literally no reason for him unless he gets injured, because he has gotten injured before, but there's no reason for him to not put up at least a top 12 season. Yeah, as a quarterback.
Is it too early for me to say? It depends on what his ADP is going to be come draft day, right?
Yeah.
Because most leagues are going to, once more leagues start doing drafts, these ADPs are going to start shooting up. I'm afraid Michael Carter is going to be a victim of that too. But Is it too early for me to say that like Ryan Tannehill might be the Josh Allen of last year?
Absolutely not.
It's not too early, but like, and I didn't want to be the guy who was super trendy because I saw everyone talking about Ryan Tannehill's the guy to have. Ryan Tannehill's the guy to have, and I'm like, I don't want to be that guy who just talks about it. But the more I chew on the numbers, the more I look at that offense, the more I look at these other quarterbacks, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, even Justin Herbert. I don't see why Ryan Tannehill can't be a top 5 quarterback this season.
Josh Allen, the year before, like he was the same way. Like he fell. He was QB6 in 2019. That's why I took him in 2 leagues, because I saw he was QB6. I was like, oh well.
He was being drafted
and Tannehill's got everything you want. Great efficiency. I mean, last year Ryan Tannehill had 266 rushing yards and 7 rushing touchdowns. So like he can do it on the ground too,
Oh, man.
So
people,
he's ready. I mean, he's primed.
Please, no. Like, can we agree to something as a fantasy community here? Everyone just let's all just chill on Ryan Tannehill until like August 16th. That's what we draft for our dynasty league. I mean, Ryan Tannehill isn't a great dynasty player. He's 32, but my point being is, if you get stack on a guy like Trey Lance and Ryan Tannehill this year, oh, you're set for dynasty, baby.
Hey, sorry, gentlemen, but round 6 is Ryan Tannehill territory.
I'm taking round 2. I'm going Mixon Tannehill. Just so you can't have him. Actually, I'll go Mixon Tannehill, Curtis Samuel. Just
no. Let me have Robbie.
That wraps out the Tennessee Titans for us. We're going to do a quick mailbag to wrap out the episode. Question number 1 comes from Jackson Allen Flipped.
Alan Jackson Flip.
Alan Jackson Flip. Sorry, I reversed the names there. How do we feel about Leonard Fournette and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers backfield this season? Is there a legit chance we think that Fournette can be the number one guy in that offense? Cameron, yes or no?
Yes, there's a legit chance. Do I trust it? No, because honestly, it's kind of like the Jacksonville backfield on a really good team. They're both great. They're both good talents. I mean, I think Leonard Fournette's a better talent, but they're going to be used equally. I mean, last year they used Fournette just for the playoffs and Ronald Jones for the regular season, and they could do that again. They could switch it up. You just don't know, so that's the tough part. They're both great talents, but I don't know where they're going to be.
Yeah,
no.
Ditto. I'm right with you.
I think it's more likely than not. And I could be dead wrong on this, and I really don't care because they're both outside of my top 30. Well, actually, I think I bumped Leonard Fournette outside of my top 30. I don't remember, but it's to a point where I can make this prediction. I don't really care. I think Leonard Fournette is probably going to lead that backfield in touches this season, and I think it's not going to be as close as it was last season. I think we see Fournette take a step forward, but it's not going to be enough for me to draft him as my flex play. That's for sure.
I need to see. I need to hear what comes out of OTAs and training camp before I feel comfortable giving Fournette the running back one title.
Sure. And Bruce Arians ain't going to shoot you straight on that either. That's the worst part.
Absolutely not.
Second question to wrap out the episode. Who are we taking? Chris Godwin, Robert Woods, Bobby Trees. And let's go rapid fire. We could probably sit and talk about, give us the player you're taking and one sentence on why you're taking that player. Cameron, go ahead.
Godwin, higher floor, better team. You go.
See, and I drafted Bobby Trees because he had the higher floor in the draft, but I'm really starting to lean Godwin, average more points per game than Mike Evans last season. And Mike Evans finished as wide receiver 13, I believe, last season.
Yeah.
So Godwin, changing from Bobby Trees.
I'm going Bobby Trees.
And I don't disagree.
I think it's just, he doesn't have Jared Goff throwing the ball anymore, and he's still got opportunities with Goff. So why does that change with a better quarterback? That's my logic.
And that was my logic when drafting Bobby Trees over Chris Godwin originally. I don't think you can go wrong with either. They're both going to be great additions for your team this season.
They're both like round 4.
Yeah. So they're going to be great additions. If you don't get one, I'd be happy to get the other.
Yeah.
Fellas, any final thoughts here as we wrap out the episode?
So if you're in my leagues, don't take Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, Julio, or AJ Brown.
Avoid the Titans players at all costs.
Yeah, but if you're not in my league, I would take all of them.
Stack on the Titans. Stack the Titans. I mean, there's absolutely no reason to not stack the Titans. Yeah. Let's be honest.
The talent's all there.
Yeah.
You all have yourself a wonderful weekend. We're just 3 stooges being dudes. Fantasy football fellas.
Deuces.
Deuces.